Yes, life can be wonderful if you're not afraid of it. All it needs is courage, imagination. What is there to fight for? Everything! Life itself isn't that enough? What is there to fight for? Life is a beautiful, magnificent thing.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Quandary Quest. Sorry it has been so long, but we just got a new puppy, so that is consuming a lot of time, and I've just been slacking. It's been it's been probably like a month and a half. I've been bad. So, I figured I did an episode about Mother's Day, and it really wouldn't be fair if I didn't do one for Father's Day, because dads deserve one too, and I feel like they don't get enough recognition. They really don't, and especially nowadays in our culture. It's become a thing to pick on Dad. All of the commercials that you see make Dad kind of look like an idiot. He doesn't know how to fend for himself anymore. Unless Mom's home, and then she'll make him a sandwich. Because if she's gone for longer than a day, he'll just stare at the fridge and not know what to do with himself. He might die of starvation. It's pretty sad. But anyway, this one is for the dads. So, we like to explore the unknown. Every now and then, we want to just slow down long enough to feel something real. So, it's not Bigfoot or hidden symbols today. We're honoring a mystery that's much closer to home, and that's fatherhood. And there's all kinds of dads, good ones, complicated ones, the ones who tried, the ones who couldn't, and the ones they lost along the way. But the importance of fathers cannot be overstated. Excuse my stool. The stool I'm sitting on. Don't get it twisted. So, I can't resist a little bit of mythology, of course, and I absolutely love Egypt. Anything having to do with Egypt. So, let's start where all the big stories do. Ancient Egypt. Osiris was considered the father of civilization, law, and agriculture. In Norse mythology, Odin wasn't just the All-Father, he was the seeker of wisdom, even sacrificing his eye to see more clearly. Talk about dedication. And fathers weren't just providers. They were bridges between the earthly and the divine, because they could never keep it in their pants. None of them. Zeus, Odin, Poseidon? No, not Poseidon. Who is it? Zeus, Odin. There's a Roman and a Greek one. Oh, and they're pretty much interchangeable. Shoot. Is it Jupiter? Shoot, I can't remember. Zeus. Anyway, all those gods, according to whichever, area of the world he lived on, they all just could not keep it in their pants. So, they definitely left a legacy. And, I've got some quotes here I want to share too. I know that's a weird place to interject, but I've been reading some of these, and I feel like it really needs to be stated, because I feel like there's such an importance placed on mothers. And I'm sorry for the popping peas. There's such an importance placed on mothers, and sure, mothers are important, but obviously there's two people taken to make a baby, and the dads are important too. So we can't, take away the significance of that. They are literally half of the child. So, they're very important. And just because they didn't do all of the labor, and carry the baby for 9 months doesn't make them love them any less. I have heard so many things about, dads, they don't know what it feels like because they didn't carry the baby. They don't crave, to have a child like a woman does and stuff like that. And that's not true. I've heard many guys say that, they couldn't wait to have a kid and they couldn't wait to be a father. Almost more than I've ever heard a woman say it, to be honest. I feel like since maybe it's so easy for women to get pregnant, it's a dreaded thing almost, because it's just incredibly easy, that we look at it as a oh no. And men, not all men are the same, obviously, but men don't look at it that way, of course. So, but, I believe, obviously, that they do want to have children. There is obviously a natural inclination to procreate. It's in everybody. Some go through the act in a worse way than others, of course, because they can't contain themselves. And, obviously that's an understatement. Don't even want to get into all that, but fathers are important, period. And even men who would just act like father, the role of a father is an important thing, because statistically you can look at all of the households that only have one parent, and it's a struggle. It's a struggle because trying to fill two different roles. When it comes to our household and the parenting styles, were definitely completely different. Women, obviously, I can't speak for everybody, but, I'm a woman, so I know how they are. Women tend to be more emotional, and sure, you get the moms that are pretty level-headed and stuff, but, they can definitely be on the more emotional side, whereas dads are usually more level-headed. Usually. Men tend to be more logical, and women tend to be more in their emotions. So, we all have a role to play. The yin and the yang. The dark and the light. And all that kind of thing. The sun and the moon. And that's what makes it so great, because it's the duality and the unison of two things coming together. It's exactly like anything else in life. Once you start looking around and you realize that everything's connected and everything is everything, Just like a man and a woman, one is heads and one is tails, but they are on the same coin. We're all humans, and we need each other, and there's a balance there. So, anyway, I talked about quotes, and then I went and started rambling. Let's see. Mike Myers. Anyone who tells you fatherhood is the greatest thing that can happen to you, they are understating it. Aw. Let's see. Somebody else. Fatherhood is the best thing that could happen to me, and I'm just glad I can share my voice. Dwayne Wade. Okay. Let's see. Fatherhood will put a man through a lot, but it's a tremendous job, the best in the world, and even better than playing basketball. Derek Fisher. I don't know who this is, but the surprising thing about fatherhood was finding my inner mush. Now I want to share it with the world. Christopher Maloney. I hope I said that right. Fatherhood is wonderful. Terry Jones. Scottie Pippen said, fatherhood is great. Guy Ritchie said, I love fatherhood. I could bang on about kids forever. Bang on. I could bang on about kids forever. Let's see. What? They legislate fatherhood in Norway? It's not an option? That's a shocking thing to us in America. Stephen Van Zandt. Van Zandt. My bad, sorry. I'm reading this from a little far away. Bad. I should have known that name. Wow. Legislate fatherhood in Norway? What? Okay. So, if I were to compare the Olympic decathlon to fatherhood, I would say that fatherhood is a lot tougher. Caitlyn Jenner. Wow. Yeah, being a parent is pretty difficult. And kids put you through it. You don't realize that when you were a teenager, what you were doing to your parents. And then looking back and going through it yourself, you're like, oh my god, it's like a slap in the face. My mom said, she always told me that, you know, you'll do this too. And I'm like, I'll never be like you. Yeah, she was right. I was wrong. Let's see, who else? Okay, this is perfect. I don't know who this is, but... And in that time, I lost my dad and had kids of my own. It was like, okay, I get it now. I know what fatherhood is all about, and you look at your parents differently. Yeah. Paul Reiser. Reiser? I don't watch sports or anything like that. So anybody that's in sports, unless they're like a 90s basketball player that played on the Chicago Bulls or something, I have no idea. Or it's like Babe Ruth or some famous baseball player that I can't pull out of the air right now, but if you mentioned the name, I would know. But yeah, I don't do sports. And I apologize for the stool that keeps crackling. It's my handmade stool. Okay, I made it with the drum of a vacuum, a shop vac, and then a hatch door thing from my work, and a foam adhesive pad that I got from my mom. It's a Frankenstein stool. Anyway, yeah, I love Jim Gaffigan. I love him. Most single guys I know think fatherhood is terrifying. Absolutely right. Most of them. There's the, random dude out there who looks forward to it from a young age and knows that's what they want to be. Just like there are some women like that. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of young men look at it as like a stranglehold on their bachelorism type of thing. Spencer Pratt said, "Fatherhood has absolutely changed me. It's the best thing that ever happened to me." Yeah. Absolutely. Let's see, we'll do one more for now, and then I'll have to find a new bunch because I'm running out of good ones. Let's see, I walked into the wrong examination room. I'm bad enough at facial recognition. I saw more that I saw more that day than I cared to. Fortunately, I didn't recognize her from that angle, whoever it was, and I didn't ask. I'm off to a rocky start on the road to fatherhood, but I got a free view. Okay, my apologies before we were so rudely interrupted. So, anyway, I found a great piece of writing at theartofmanliness.com that kind of, says what, well, I'll just read it. Fathers tend to be taken for granted. We invariably make more of a fuss over mom on Mother's Day than dad on Father's Day, for one. And, okay, let me tell you, I can attest to that. I worked at a country club, and Mother's Day was one of the biggest events of the year. I mean, I was a dishwasher, and when I say plates stacked almost to the freaking ceiling, I'm not, and just dishes and stuff and shaving dishes and pots and pans and this and that and just so much stuff. Mother's Day is such a big event. Like, Walmart's got the stuff pulled out for it and everything. Sure, they got stuff out for Father's Day, but it's always less of a thing. It's quite sad. It's so downplayed when you really couldn't have a kid without the father. So, I mean, yeah, anyway, back to the article. Dads are like a steady but less sentimentalized institution, the sun in our familial sky that warms and gives life, but isn't much thought about unless he goes missing. Oh, that's sad. Yet, this belies the enormous impact fathers truly have on their children. While a dad's nurturing may often take the form of playful roughhousing and silly jokes, his influence is quite serious and significant. The presence of a loving father greatly increases a child's chances of success, confidence and resilience, physical and mental well-being, and yes, quite naturally, their sense of humor. And I personally can say that is true 100%, because when I would come home from work and I would find cushions all over the house and my kids jumping from one cushion to the other, they couldn't touch the floor, they could only get on the cushions, and it was like an obstacle course. He always created little obstacle courses for them, or would take them outside and like hold them and let them run up the walls and act like they were doing like kiddie parkour and jump off big boulders. And dads are fun, dads are fun, and of course they definitely were goofy all together. Lots of laughs. Anyway, they go on to say, One of the manifestations of the way we take fathers for granted is that there exist many more quotes about mom than dear old dad. And, when I said I was going to find more, I'm having a difficult time finding some, because a lot of them are just, it's great. It's wonderful. Ooh. Like, nothing else. No, like, more powerful things to be said about fathers, really? The creators, like, half of the creator. Yeah. So, yeah, there are more quotes about mom than dear old dad, and even fewer about fathers and daughters. To make more accessible those great pearls of wisdom that do exist, we searched high and low for the very best and created this ultimate treasury of quotes about fatherhood. These short quotations provide great prompts for reflection. Typically, we're so busy plowing ahead that we don't pause to look up and get a bird's eye perspective on things, taking the time to ponder what our own dads meant to us and the way we're shaping and should be savoring our kids right now. Isn't that the truth? Time flies. Flies. When it's, almost unfathomable to me. I can't even speak. Almost unfathomable. Unfathomable it's without fathom. Anyway, unfathomable that we're halfway through another year already. Actually, now we're going into July. So we're over halfway through another year. Where did the time go? I felt like it just started. What the hell's going on? Who pressed the fast forward button through all of life? we wanted to skip through all the boring stuff and the 9 to 5 or the 6 to 2:30, and the 100-degree heat, stuff like that. Just that drudgery, monotony of that kind of thing. As long as it doesn't skip through the entirety of life like it does on the movie Click. But it's just going way too fast, isn't it? I know. I hear a lot of people talking about that. It really does fly. Savor the time with your kids all you can, because they grow up before you know it. They really do. So, Walter M. Shira Sr., whoever that is, I'm sorry that I don't know who you are. This is still on the artofmanliness.com. You don't raise heroes, you raise sons. And if you treat them like sons, they'll turn out to be heroes, even if it's just in your own eyes. Yeah, it's wonderful. Some dads liken the impending birth of a child to the beginning of a great journey. Marcus Jacob Goldman. I like that one. That's one of my favorites so far. One father is more than 100 schoolmasters. George Herbert. I would say it depends on the father, but yes, when it's interesting, because just like mothers, fathers are the same. Good or bad, it's better to have them there, honestly, because even if, and I speak from experience, even if there is any issues with your father or your mother, honestly, it really is, it's like a lesson. Whatever they were there for, even if what you went through was awful, they were there, and it was a lesson. It was a test. And you gotta look at life like a video game, really. Every year is another level, and they're just gonna get harder and harder as it goes. And there's no cheat codes for this one, though. This one you gotta go through. And there's no, kill the system, hit the power button, and restart if something goes wrong. Can't be doing that, so. And there's no such thing as failure. I feel like the only real failure is just giving up. That's just, quitting before even really starting. That's even worse. Darn stool. I have to put some padding up in there. Okay, so yeah. I'd say it depends on the fascia. So, let's see. The best way of training the young is to train yourself at the same time. Not to admonish them, but to be seen never doing that of which you would admonish them. Plato. Damn it, Plato. That was a good one. Yeah, the do as I say, not as I do, I like that quote. But I know, in essence, it's kind of shit. Because kids learn by action. They learn watching what you are doing. Before language, before any of that develops, those eyeballs are looking at every little thing you're doing. And so, they're like little sponges. Any way you act, all the little tics and traits and vices and whatever that you might have, you're going to rub that right off onto your kid. And it's going to be unintentional, of course, and you can't prevent it. They say you are like the 5 people that you spend the most time around or something like that. And I believe it because after a whole bunch of hard times and stuff and having to move back in with my mother, after being there for so long, I found myself saying things that she would say. And, specific sayings that she would say quite frequently. I'm like, oh God. Oh, I really am turning into my mother. Not that that's a bad thing. I love my mother. She's wonderful. She's crazy. And I love her. And I love her even more for that. Crazy in a good way. Crazy in a good way. Just never a dull moment, that's for sure. And I can talk to her about anything. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear that, but I think that's the squeak toy. I hope you can't hear that. We just got the dog a new squeak toy, and naturally it was a bunny with a big old ball on the inside. And she ripped the bunny up, and so now it's just the ball. Alright, so, sorry. Yeah, Plato, chef's kiss, mwah. Love that quote. And another thing is that I heard my sister, she said she was a young mom. She got married real young and everything, and she had said that she wanted to grow up with her kids. And me also having kids quite young, not quite young, real young, it's definitely something to learn alongside them, because, she has a more mothering nature, and, that's what she wanted and intended. Mine was, oops, and that's okay. So I was less prepared mentally, is what I mean. So she was more prepared. I was less prepared. She was also a little older than I was. Anyway, yeah, growing up with your kids. So, yeah, the best way of training a young one is to train yourself at the same time. Yeah, so it really is difficult to, teach them to do something, to not do something that you do. Because once they learn it, it's hard to break it. Especially if they know it's bad and they're, like, giggling about it. Alright, my apologies for the stool. this is a blanket apology for the rest of the episode about the popping of the peas. I'm sorry, I can't quite figure out what distance I need to be from the microphone. If I go just slightest too far away, then you can't hear me. And then if I go just a little bit too close, then I don't think it's too close. It just... So, my apologies. So sorry. Anyway, yeah, blanket apology for the popping and the stool. So, the crickety crackety. The nature of impending fatherhood is that you are doing something that you're unqualified to do, and then you become qualified while doing it. Oh my god. Exactly. That's literally what I was just talking about. Yeah, learning alongside them. I mean, all of life. If you're not learning something, at least one thing every day, what are you doing? You should be learning at least one new thing every day. You really should. Once upon a time, I was writing like my one new thing a day that I learned, but these days I like to dive into so many things. I learn far more than one thing a day, so it'd be incredibly difficult to do that and work. And if only we had 8 arms, that'd be great. Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, I really love that quote. So, another one of the greatest things a father can do for his children is to love their mother. Oh, John Green was that last quote, if I didn't say that. But yeah, one of the greatest things a father can do for his children is to love their mother. Howard W. Hunter. I mean, absolutely. Love in the home is, why? How could that ever be a bad thing? You want your kids to be in a loving home, and you want to be aware of how you're talking to each other in front of your kids, and know that however you handle your relationship with one another is more than likely how they'll handle their relationships with their future partners, or even their friends. They'll learn from you by watching you. So any arguments or disagreements, definitely, just keep it in mind. Obviously, nobody's perfect, and emotions flare up and things happen sometimes, obviously, but I'm so sorry for that squeak toy, if you can hear that. Okay, my apologies if you could actually hear that squeak toy. I don't know, because I haven't listened back to it yet, so it remains to be seen whether or not you'll be able to hear that obnoxious sound. It sounds like a bird dying or something. Okay, where were we? Let's see. Yeah, loving their mother, loving the home. Yeah, obviously, if things don't work out, and I'm speaking from experience, it's sad, obviously, but most people get married for all the wrong reasons nowadays anyway. That's why the divorce rate is so high. They're like, oops, got pregnant, let's get married. Oh, we're in Vegas for the weekend. Oh, I love you. I'm completely drunk and wasted, but let's get married. Or we think we're in love, and then 2 months later they hate each other's guts or something. It comes in all shapes and sizes. So, a lot of people think it's love, and it's just lust, too. That's another big thing. So, sad that people can't tell the difference. Which, it's most people that can't tell the difference. Anyway, yeah, if you aren't happy with your partner, spouse, whatever, then and it's like a very toxic and hateful environment, and you just cannot get along, it does not matter what you do or say or anything, do not stay together. That's my suggestion. And I'm just going to keep it real, and I will always keep it real. don't stay together. That's my advice, because it is better for the child to see you two part and go your separate ways and be happy individually than hateful and having that environment, that just dark cloud over the household and growing up in that. That's horrible. Horrible. And it's so weird, because you could, raise your kid and give them the best of everything and be wonderful, and you're a really nice person and you're a great parent and this and that, and your child could still be a criminal delinquent, like murderer or whatever. Like, look at Jeffrey Dahmer. His parents are religious. Ow. My shoulder. Or, you could have raised your kids not at all. Been completely absent and let the system raise your kids, or just let them run around when they were younger about the neighborhood and just do whatever, and who cares, well, whatever. And your kid, like, the worst childhood, and your kid could turn out to be a saint, or it could be the complete opposite. You could have a great childhood and you could be a great person. Like, you just never know. It's like, what is it that tips people over, the scales, which way or the other? It's an interesting thing. But having two parents around, even if they're in two different houses, as long as you get to see them, is very important. Very important. So, let's see. What is to a father growing old, nothing is dearer than a daughter. Euripides. Euripides? I'm assuming that's some philosopher, some Greek philosopher. I don't know, honestly. I'm not sure who that is. Sounds Greek or Roman. Don't fry me if I got that wrong and he's, like, not a philosopher at all. Just the name. That's just what I'm guessing. So, if there is any immortality to be had among us human beings, it is certainly only in the love that we leave behind. Fathers like mine don't ever die. Alright. I adjusted the volume a little bit. I hope that's better with popping and stuff. So, yeah. If there's any immortality to be had among us human beings, it is certainly only in the love that we leave behind. Fathers like mine don't ever die. Leo Buscaglia. Buscaglia. Or something like that. And that's true. My father, he passed away when I was 15, and I think about him all the time. I wish he could have met my kids. That's one of my biggest sadnesses, honestly, is that I wish he could have met the kids and, my life partner. I feel like they would have gotten along so great. They're very similar. They both liked video games, and they're both goofy, have a sense of humor, and like to talk about late night philosophical conspiracy topics and stuff. Yeah, definitely miss him. So, if you're near your dad, give him a big old hug and tell him that you love him, because you just never know. So, and I realize this is very belated for Father's Day, but I wanted to get it done before June was over, and I know I'm slacking, and I apologize sincerely to all the dads out there. This doesn't negate or take away from the impact that you have on the lives of the children. So, it had to be done. I had to make this happen. So, anyway, let's see. That is the thankless position of the father in the family, the provider for all and the enemy of all. J. August Strindberg. Sure, I feel like in some families, it's just like with anything else. And sometimes it's the mom being the stern one, sometimes it's the dad. And being a parent, period, is a thankless job. Period. That can't be understated. All the stuff that you have to do that you will never, ever be thanked for. And you just, you have to do it. Obviously, they're your children. You have to take care of them and stuff. And, why wouldn't you? But when you just think about it, the things that you do, they will most likely go unnoticed. And that's just the way it is. So, being a parent, it's definitely a thankless job, for sure. Every father should remember one day his son will follow his example, not his advice. Charles Quandary. And that's exactly what I was saying earlier. If you lead by example, that is definitely better than the do as I say, not as I do. Even though I love that saying because I am not perfect, and I don't claim to be perfect. And, if I slip up and I do something in front of the kids or say something in front of the kids, that's my philosophy. Do as I say, not as I do. But I know it's flawed, obviously. But we can joke around here. Alright. Man, I have a glass Coke bottle and the freaking lid won't come off. Oh! There we go. I got it. Listen to the fizz. Oh, yeah. Alright. Son, there are times a man has to do things he doesn't like to in order to protect his family. Ralph Moody. Isn't that the truth? So absolutely true. I feel like you kind of have to hammer it. Okay. I feel like you have to hammer it into kids' heads, especially nowadays. I'm sure that my generation was just as bad when I was growing up, but obviously I was a kid, so I was completely unaware of those goings on. So, but there's things in life that you're gonna have to do that you don't want to do, like go to work every day, wake up at the butt crack of dawn every day, possibly on the weekends work for 12 hours straight, possibly on your feet the entire time. Every day. Now some of them, most of them don't even want to walk anywhere, let alone be on your feet all day. So, yeah. These kids nowadays. Definitely something that has to be addressed. I've said that so many times to my kids about, there's plenty of things that I don't want to do that I just have to do, and that's just life. Bada bing, bada boom. Alright. Parenthood remains the single greatest preserve of the amateur. Alvin Toffler. That is very true. Yeah. Everybody that goes into parenting is immensely unqualified. Obviously, unless you're on your 18th kid or something, then that's a whole other story. But yeah, you'll never be prepared. And no matter what anybody says, no matter how many chicken soup for the souls for mothers or fathers thing that you read, or whatever, you might ingest to know how to be a parent. It doesn't It's definitely the area of life where experience is the ultimate teacher. Books, movies, videos, whatever, does not do it justice. You have to go through it. Absolutely. Alright, a boy needs a father to show him how to be in the world. He needs to be given swagger, taught how to read a map so that he can recognize the roads that lead to life and the paths that lead to death, how to know what love requires and where to find steel in the heart when life makes demands on us that are greater than we think we can endure. Ooh, damn, that was a lot. Ian Morgan Crone. Ooh, I'm gonna read that one over again. A boy needs a father to show him how to be in the world. He needs to be given swagger, taught how to read a map so that he can recognize the roads that lead to life and the paths that lead to death, how to know what love requires and where to find steel in the heart when life makes demands on us that are greater than we think we can endure. Woo! I like that one. Sorry, I'm trying to get my flip-flop back on. I don't know if you hear all that thumping. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, I really like that one. That's a good one. And it's actually more than one sentence for once, That's even better. Alright, my father didn't tell me how to live. He lived and let me watch him do it. There we are, once again. Clarence Buddington Kelland. Yeah, there we are again. Once again, it is absolutely a case of observation and just soaking stuff up like a sponge. All the way up until, they say, around 5, 6, 7 is, between the ages of birth and maybe 7-ish. That is when we are our most malleable, I will say. Definitely the most malleable. So we intake a lot of information. We're not putting out a lot of things. We're just soaking everything up around us. So that's why it's very important what young kids are watching and listening to, reading. Like, young kids are very, very impressionable. And basically in a hypnotic state. We're in the theta state in those ages. And so everything you do, they are watching you. And you're like, how did you even learn that word? They were watching you. They heard you. So, just be cautious and just keep that in mind. That's all. And obviously, no one's perfect. Don't aim for perfection. Because that's impossible. But yeah, they watch you. Okay, so here we go. Watching you. That's kind of creepy, isn't it? Alright. When you're a dad, there's no one above you. If I don't do something that has to be done, who's going to do it? Jonathan Safran Foer. Yeah, I definitely feel that. I know sometimes I'm like, can somebody step in and be a parent for me? Who signed up for this stuff? Who wants to be an adult today? Nobody. And it's a question. When did we flip the switch and turn adult on? When does that actually start? It's like, nope, no more fun. No more this, no more that. Gotta grow up. It's kind of sad. We shut that down, and we should definitely fix that. And you know what? Dads could probably help with that. For sure. Because usually they're pretty fun. Usually. Alright. If the past cannot teach the present, and the Father cannot teach the Son, then history need not have bothered to go on, and the world has wasted a great deal of time. Russell Hoban. If the past can't teach the present, and the Father cannot teach the Son, then history need not have bothered to go on, and the world has wasted a great deal of time. Right, because we're just repeating the same thing over and over again. What's the point? The thing is that, sure, on an individual level, things have changed, and they're different than they used to be. But on a global scale, man, things do repeat themselves. History really does repeat themselves. Or itself, rather. Yeah, itself. History does repeat itself. And it's insane to watch. You can pull up stuff from 100 years ago and then watch the same type of thing happening now, or something that they talked about 100 years ago playing out as we speak. And it's just like jarring. Why don't we ever learn? Okay. And a great quote by Theodore Roosevelt: "For unflagging interest and enjoyment, a household of children, if things go reasonably well, certainly makes all other forms of success and achievement lose their importance by comparison." Absolutely. Absolutely. Some of my favorite memories are of the kids and all of them together running around out in the backyard, and the giggles. I love baby giggles and kid giggles. It's adorable. I love it so much. And I mean, it's just the most beautiful, innocent, happy sound of life. You know, there's nothing more innocent than a child's laugh. It's just, it's amazing. I mean, have you ever watched those little baby videos and they start giggling and you can't help but laugh? Me too. Me too. Me too. Alright. So, we've gone through many a quote, okay? And we are going to jump back over here. And we're going to talk about, let's see. Being a dad isn't just about the DNA, obviously. You know, you don't have to be someone's biological father to have an impact on their life or to be the father figure. As long as that role is filled, hopefully by someone that's good, it really is for the better. Because it's a hard life trying to parent on your own. Being a single parent is definitely way harder than obviously having two people in the household, because I mean, logistically, with the scheduling and the work and who's going to watch the baby, and I mean, it is, anybody who's doing that and still does it and has like 5 kids and I mean, clap to you, be it mother, father, whatever. If you're raising all those kids, or a kid, whatever, on your own, bravo, especially if it's been for like a long term. I mean, I went through it very briefly, but I mean, the people that do it for years and years and years, or the entire time of their child's life, yeah, kudos to you. I mean, it is a tough one, trying to fill both sides, you know, both the dad role and the mom role, or vice versa. Anyway, yeah, it's not just about the DNA, you know, it's the late night talks, the hard lessons, the goofy dad jokes, and the silent sacrifices, you know, men giving up things that they wanted to do with their lives to put food on the table, and just to make sure that their family doesn't, you know, go without. They sacrifice a lot. Okay. And sorry. Sorry, my necklace needed fixed. So, this is one thing that I can get really enraged about, honestly. The fact that men in society are there's no get out of jail free card for men. Men are expected, they're held to such a higher standard than women are. It's insane. And I can't imagine the stress of that you have to endure, because there's no options. Like, that's a card that you pulled. You pulled the guy card. You're a man, and society does not feel sorry for you. If anything, they probably hate you, and it's so sad. So, sure, women have had it hard through the years, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's true. And absolutely, women are still having it extremely hard in many places all over the world. That doesn't, obviously, I'm speaking mostly of, the US and Canada and all that kind of, I'm speaking of these places, women in the UK even, and, America, many places are not, in the same box that they used to be in. We can vote, and we can do this, we can get jobs, we can choose to not have kids, and, all these types of things. Granted, like I said, there are places over the world that it's not true. Everywhere is different. But on the vast majority, the grand scale, women have definitely, overcome many obstacles, and we are very fortunate to be in a time that we are in now. As long as you don't live in, the countries that do awful things to women because because they're born a woman, or they don't wear a certain thing and all that stuff. It's awful. Absolutely awful. Right. So, but being fortunate enough to be born in the US and being a woman, blessings. So fortunate. I can't even understate it, how lucky you are. If you're born in the US and you're a woman, you can literally, this is awful, but it's the truth. You can just pop out a few kids and get food stamps and welfare. And then, bada bing, bada boom, you're golden. You can get WIC and all these things to pay for your food and your diapers and your this and your that and everything. Now, turn around and what does a man have? Think about that. What do men have that's like that? They don't. No, most of the time, they get strapped with child support. And, possibly it wasn't even... Okay, like the young guy who was a sperm donor, and he got taken to court for being the father of some random kid from being a sperm donor, and the woman won. What the fuck? Excuse me. No. That is... Oh, man. That's a whole other level of unfair. I don't even understand. Isn't there, some type of contract or clause or something like that you sign when you go in there to do that ensures that won't happen? Insane. So, yeah. A lot of the time, men do get the shitty end of the stick when it comes to that. Granted, women will be like, oh, well, they get us pregnant, blah, 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 blah. But it takes two to tango, okay? And, there is such a thing as a Plan B pill, okay? And it's good for 72 hours, aka 3 days. You have 3 days to take this Plan B pill and to, do something about it if you're worried. So, I know, depending on where you live, maybe it's not applicable or whatever. I don't know how that works, but I know that can be a thing, and you can order just about anything online. I know that's sketchy, and you gotta be careful, obviously. But, or you could, like, drive to the state next to you if it's legal there. Like when I was a kid and we drove to pick up cartons of cigarettes in Kentucky because it was cheaper there. There are ways, is all I'm saying. I don't know the legalities in every state, obviously, but I know that that's a possibility, and that it's out there, or there's other options. You could possibly go to the hospital and ask them about that, and maybe they could prescribe you it. There are options. So when it comes to getting pregnant, if you have any type of inkling that happened, or like, oops, then take the damn pill if you want a kid. And obviously, if it's a one-night stand and you guys haven't talked, you're not even in a relationship and you don't agree on anything, take the pill. But that being said, yeah, men really do get the shitty end of the stick. They can't opt out most of the time. Like Brendan Fraser was strapped with like, I don't know, like $30,000 a month in child support or something ridiculous like that. I don't know exactly how much, but it was an exorbitant amount of money. Like, how I get it, he's a movie star, but how is that even legal? They basically strip one parent of everything and give it to the other parent. Don't you want both parents to be living equally? Wouldn't you think that both parents being, in a house and not homeless and stuff like that and being on their feet, don't you think that would be something that they wanted to do rather than taking everything from one and giving it to the other? Like, it should be looked at a little bit harder for sure. There's some flaws in that system. Or, having to pay for years after your child is of age and all that stuff. It's just insanity. Somebody's not keeping track of that shit. Anyway, I'm sorry for the rant about that. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Fathers can be quiet heroes and sometimes hilariously bad at expressing emotion. Ever get a proud of you from your dad in the form of a head nod and a grunt? That's elite dad communication. That's code for, you're my entire world, and I'd fight a bear for you. Today's fathers are evolving. They're hugging more, crying more, cooking meals, and showing up for dance recitals. They're choosing presence over just provision. And while that's true, they are, but I think that has to do with the soy. I really do. I think some of that is the soy. I don't know if y'all know this, dudes, but you should not be drinking soy milk. If you're a man, stay away from the soy milk and the soy. Soy is in literally everything, so you can't get away from it. But specifically, soy milk, the entirety of the thing is made from soy. Do not drink it. Drink almond milk or something. Or they even make pea milk. However, that's made. That's disgusting, but they make it. They make wheat milk. How they get milk from things that don't have udders, I'll never understand. But obviously, you soak the oat or grain or nut in water and blah 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 blah. Ooh ah. But there's other ones. Don't drink the soy. Don't do it. It has estrogen mimickers in it, and they can throw your hormones off balance. And so that's literally why there's such a thing as a soy boy, because ingesting too much soy literally, it can give you some, man boobs and stuff. You can be all thrown off. Your testosterone gets all jacked up and trying to compensate for the estrogen. I mean, just stay away. Stay away. And I'm not saying that it's bad that they're hugging more and crying more and stuff like that. But I'm saying that might have something to do with it, you know. I'm great. I'm glad that they're expressing themselves, because I think it's so terrible that people think that if you're a man, you should shut down your feelings. You shouldn't be allowed to have emotions. You need to be stone. No, never cry because that's weakness and blah, 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 blah. I think that's so silly. So, but if you're overly emotional and you're crying like a woman, then there's a problem. Okay, there's a problem. Alright. Wade Boggs said, anyone can be a father, but it takes someone special to be a dad. That's true. Alright, and let's be real, many are learning on the fly. No one's handed a manual. I mean, that's all of life, but unless you count YouTube tutorials on how to fix a leaking faucet, dads are out here learning emotions and plumbing at the same time. Yeah. Maybe your dad was the first to teach you how to question the world, or how to hold a flashlight correctly while he worked on the car. Or maybe you became the parent you needed, and in that you became a kind of father to yourself. That's an interesting concept. Become a parent to yourself. I mean, yeah, we all are, I suppose. Now, here's a quandary for you. What if fatherhood is more than a role? What if it's a cosmic force? In many spiritual traditions, father represents structure, reason, and protection. Not male per se, but the active divine principle. The energy that builds, teaches, and anchors. So maybe this day isn't just about your dad. Maybe it's about what fatherhood represents. The steady hand, the challenge, the unwavering belief that you can become more than you were yesterday. Yeah, the encouragement they provide. It can't be matched, for sure. So, whether your father was a fortress, a flicker, or fractured, today we're honoring what fatherhood tries to be: a pillar, something to lean on, something to rise from. So call your dad, or light a candle, or be the father someone else needs, because somewhere in the mystery of life, the role of a father remains one of the oldest and most sacred of all. Yeah. So important, guys. Be good men. And if you are a woman and you're listening and you're raising sons, don't be one of those women who makes them hate themselves. I see feminist women all the time who blatantly badmouth men and just say awful things, and then they're standing right next to their sons. How do you think that makes them feel? I mean, growing up and hearing that, that's awful. That's awful. So, same goes there. Just be aware of what you're saying and how you're acting around your children. You know? I mean, if you're a feminist, that's great. But maybe just don't preach it in front of them, and just keep that kind of stuff to yourself until they're a little older, maybe. Because you'll make them to be insecure men who just think that no matter what they do, they'll never be good enough, and they're just a piece of crap, and they feel like they're always inferior to a woman, blah, blah, blah. The thing that everyone should remember is balance, equality. those are such important words. Everything is a balance. Everything. And, just like everything in moderation, I mean, there's really no good or bad, really. But, obviously, there's a negative and a positive, and, the scales tip one way or the other, depending. But, yeah. Anyway, I am sorry for all the squeaks and ramblings and the noises and the late release, and I do apologize for everything. I am trying not to edit this episode, so I apologize for the lawnmower man that showed up in the back. But I really wanted to make sure that this was out for the dads. And happy belated Father's Day, guys. I'm sorry it took so long. I really am. I mean, anybody's had a new puppy, it's like having a newborn baby. It's literally 24/7. Ugh. And the kids, gone for part of the summer, staying with grandparents and stuff. So it's just us and 3 dogs. So they take up a lot of time. Peeing and pooping every 15 freaking minutes. It's just ridiculous. Can't get anything done with a little turd. So adorable, though. So adorable. Anyway, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. And to all the soon-to-be dads and want-to-be dads and everything in between. Happy Father's Day. And remember, this should be celebrated, and not even just celebrated, but just acknowledged every day, not just one day a year. Every day. We should be more appreciative and thankful that the lessons that our parents bestowed, whether it was through non-conventional means or whatever, what have you, they were there to teach you something, just like everybody in your life is in your life to teach you something. Especially the bad ones. I feel like they probably teach you the most. So, anyway, like I said, for the 3rd time, happy Father's Day, and I wish you all the best. Everybody have a good 4th of July. I'm going to try and put something out around the 4th of July. Hopefully, I have some time off from work, so I will get some more things going. I am looking forward to getting back into it and diving in. I have so many things that I want to talk about, and I could probably sit in front of a microphone all day and talk about all these crazy conspiracies and theories and stuff, and just, I love it. Or ancient history and all that. But, alright. Anyway, everybody have a wonderful rest of the week, and if I don't post something else, then happy 4th of July, happy Independence Day, woo woo. Give everybody love around you, hugs around you, and, remember that it's the journey in between the beginning and the end that make life worth it, and that make it a story worthy of telling. So no matter where life may take you, embrace the quest and question everything. Bye, guys.
The trouble is you won't fight. You've given in, continually dwelling on sickness and death. in the universe, moving the earth, growing the trees, and that's the same power within you.